Hey, good afternoon. Doug with Paint Source with more painting and wood care advice. This is the start of a deck maintenance project, and it's going to lead to a lot of discussions. We've got discussions about why you should never build a deck this close to the ground. Number one, don't build it at the bottom of a hill where water's going to be under it unless you coat the bottom of the boards. Now, we believe that you should be coating the bottom on any outdoor lumber, all 6 sides, no matter if it's trim on the house, and certainly deck boards that need to be coated on the bottom when they're going to be basically a sauna under there as the water is pulled out and the sun shines on it. This is facing south and west. And what's crazy here is we used a product called Waterlox, and Waterlox a tongue oil finish, and Waterlox will tell you absolutely do not put their product on a deck, and if you do, you're an idiot. Well, I'm an idiot because I put Waterlox on this because this is old special wood to me. This was from a feed bunk on a dairy farm, so we're repurposing this wood. Even we use this edge here. This is kind of rounded from where the cows, you got to visualize, we'll show a picture of it, but where the cows used to eat. Now, it wasn't a square like this, but it was a long feed trough for dairy cows. Anyway, so this is beautiful pine wood, the point. This was built back in the 50s, 60s. So we got some nice old wood, and we wanted to showcase that wood with Waterlox. It looks like a piece of furniture when it's done. And the only downside to using Waterlox on this deck is that it has to be coated once a year. That's insane, you say. Well, not if you see what it's going to look like. So we purposely let this thing weather. We're on, I don't know, 14 months right here. We might backtrack and lay it out. But what I'm saying is, this is the worst this could possibly look ever. We've just let this whole finish. We'll go back on some pictures, show you it last early summer, spring, but it's finally at the end of the rope, like letting a tire run out of air. And once it ran out of air, which is around October, it went downhill quick. So we've got mold, literally organic growth on some of these trim, well, what we call our stripe boards. And the interesting thing about these boards, we used an oil-based stain to try to take some new, just cheap, Lowe's lumber and make it look old. And it did for a long time. It looks a little rough now, and you'll see what we're going to bring it back to. But the point of the discussion is any of these oil-based deck stains that have linseed oil and stuff, and this is with coating with Waterlox. So it looked good for a long time. But once the coating wore away and the sun and the weather started beating on that oil-based stain that's on these, again, these 1, 2, 3, 4 boards. And this will make sense to guys that are in the painting business or wood finishing. So you can't use those oil stains unless you're encapsulating them into the wood. And the only way you can do that is with Waterlox. So we encapsulate either Old Masters or Czar oil-based stain into the first coat of Waterlox Marine Sealer. And we're doing this same system in horse barns across the country. So the Waterlox and stain locks it in. Now, these boards, you see all this beautiful color in these natural. These are the old boards. They're a little orange right now. That's the yellow of the natural wood under there. But then you've got the dark red areas that are not characteristic of the pine that you're getting these days. So when we clean this up, and we'll flash some pictures up here of what this looks like, but you're going to be mind blown. But I want to get to the very basic concept. Well, and by the way, Google best wood finish mahogany garage door, and you'll find a project there we did with the Waterlox, and that tells a lot of this. But the main takeaway here, it's in January, end of January in Kentucky. This is not the weather to be finishing. But we're going to go ahead and at least get this cleaned up. If nothing else, I want to get rid of this fungus and organic growth that's on the wood, mildew. And the only way I'm going to do that, and the only way that I'm going to advise our clients to do that, is with oxygen bleach. No more chlorine bleach on decks anywhere. Don't allow a contractor on your property if he wants to use chlorine bleach or swimming pool bleach. My gosh, and rinsing that down into our environment. So we're going to use oxygen bleach. You should too. Any outdoor wood cleaning. So that's the takeaway on this video. We'll probably have to edit just down to this one final clip or segment, whatever you want to call it. Use oxygen bleach to get rid of the organic growth and mildew. Use a wood brightener to get rid of this graying and sun decaying. And also the cleaner is going to get rid of some of this, what I call crispy finish. You can see here where this is under water. My goodness. So these boards are not really cupped, but they're slightly cupped to a degree. They're holding water, and you can see here the water that's standing. And I don't care if you what coating or what product you use on a deck. If your deck boards are similar to this, and that's why this is our testing deck. We can demonstrate everything here, this one deck. But we've got a little bit of cupping, which you would expect on outside wood, but it's so minimal, but it's enough to hold that water. So if your deck actually holds water, don't ask any paint company, don't ask any company to guarantee their finish, because it's underwater. You might as well make it a swimming pool. So, but for a deck that is level and smooth and flat through proper construction and design, coating the bottom of the boards. If you do not coat the bottom of the boards on any outdoor structure, that wood will curl upward toward the sun, the edges. So if water gets on the bottom or in the end grain, these edges of these boards are going to curl up. And again, if you know deck lumber and construction, if you did this with the treated lumber that you have here now that you get at Home Depot and Lowe's, that comes to you at 60% moisture, and you put that uncoated, you think because it's treated lumber, you don't have to coat the bottom. And if you don't coat the bottom, that treated lumber will absorb water just like an uncoated board. The treated is for ground contact, so you don't even need that on the bottom side. But the bottom line is this: you've got to coat the bottom side. This has got 2 or 3 coats of Waterlox on the bottom side. It's got coats on the saw cuts. And that's the way you ought to demand that any contractor builds your deck. And they say, we don't have time for that. Well, take the time and bill me for it. Get your wood 30 days before you're ready to build your deck. Stack it and rack it, either under a blue tarp or in a garage where you can get some air movement and dry that wood slow. This wood was already dry. It had been out in the outside as it was functioning as a feed bunk on a farm. So this wood was outside to begin with. We repurposed it into this deck wood. It's already flat, but certainly if we didn't coat the bottom, this wood would be curled. We'll show you some of our cutoffs that we did let uncoated, and they'll curl up. So again, just a lot of information in a real quick amount of time. Join us for this journey. We're going to go step by step. We're going to clean this up. We're going to talk about it as we work, so it's not quite so boring for you to hear all this advice. But again, takeaway today: clean with oxygen bleach. OxyClean is fine. I would get a commercial grade. You can get Benjamin Moore's composite deck cleaner. Benjamin Moore's composite deck cleaner. Just Google that. You can get that at any Benjamin Moore store. And they'll have a wood brightener as well. That's oxalic acid. And yes, you can get all those, the wood brighteners at Home Depot and Lowe's, Sherwin-Williams. They might even have some, man, they got 1,000 deck cleaners. Tremendous amount of packaging and all these fancy things. But all you got to do is really OxyClean or commercial oxygen bleach, and then a wood brightener, oxalic acid. And then we'll talk about sanding, prepping the deck for the desired maintenance coat. I'm Doug Wilson, talking about Waterlox. Check out our website, paintsource.net, and our YouTube.